This box right here is so like Virgin, because by the time this gets finished with them, they never get to the box. Win-win situation.
All right, Annette.
Yes.
Annette, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Elizabeth, New Jersey, on the East Coast.
Tell me about your family.
I'm the youngest of 10 children. My family's component made of three components. That's the alcoholics, the drug addicts, and the church folks. That's the three components. That's how we're made up. My mother was a product of an interracial relationship back in the South when it wasn't popular. Matter of fact, it was taboo. And when she was born, they, the mother felt that she was doing her justice, a service by throwing her in a garbage can and telling them if they wanted that nigga, they better come get it before she died. So my mother grew up with her grandparents, who was her father's mother and father. And she was drinking at a very early age. I think she was drinking when she was 2. She was dipping snuff. And as they were getting older, they had to hurry up and marry her off because they were dying. So she got married when she was 13 to a pretty much grown man. She never knew her mother. And that's all we ever heard all the time. As far back as I can remember, she would say, I never knew what it was like to have a mother. She never knew her mother. She never knew if she had sisters or brothers because she came out black and they were white. So it wasn't happening. And I don't know why we didn't think, and I mean, I have brothers and sisters older than myself. Why didn't anyone think to look up her last name and try to, give her some closure on it? I didn't think about it until later on in life, but I started it, but I just didn't complete it because I was never home. I was always on the move. Well, I can tell you this from what I've been told. When I was born, my mother went into a coma. I was told that I didn't meet my mother until I was 2 years old. My oldest sister, her nickname was Happy. She pretty much took care of me. All my sisters was raped by my oldest brother, the firstborn. My mother had 8 kids down south by her husband when she was young. And she said he used to stab her in the stomach when she was pregnant. And they had this field where they grew their own food. And all week long they would work together, but on the weekends they'd take off and go in their separate directions and leave the kids there. So she had 8 kids down south. Now, my oldest brother, Junior, raped all of my sisters before me. And the story went at he was big, he was a bully. So he made my other brothers guard the door while he raped one of my sisters. And they said I've heard some of my brothers tell me, like when I was grown, that they heard it, but it was nothing they can do because they were scared. And so one of them supposedly had gotten pregnant but lost the baby. And then, for whatever reasons, my mother moved from down south to Jersey, where she met my father. And my father was married, and he had 10 kids. And so he worked for Ford. And the first child she had by him was a boy, was my brother Pinky, who passed. He's older than I am, but he was the baby boy. And then when I came along, I heard somehow she made sure that the wife found out. And that caused problems because it was something, I heard some kind of litigation they were having. The father wanted to take me and my brother away from her, but the judge wouldn't let, you know, that happen, wouldn't let us leave my mother. But I'm kind of wonder what it would have been like if that happened. My life might have been different. But anyway, in the meantime, okay, now here I am, right? And my sister Happy is taking care of me. I had no memory of my childhood from the age of 13 down because it was so hellish. I was being raped and molested so much that I blocked the whole thing out as told by my psychiatrist, and psychoanalyst. And when I started getting memories, they were so hellish that I thought I was losing my mind. I didn't think that it was any way possible these things could have been happening to me. So I asked a family friend one time, I had this dream, And I remember the mattress. I remember being in the basement. I remember it was a little light bulb that hung by a string. I remember the brick that was in the walls because the cement was sloppy, pouring out. And I remember looking up and seeing my sister Happy come in the basement. And I was so happy to see her. I jumped up and ran. And what she did, she just turned me around and she wiped the blood and the feces that was running from my behind down my legs. And she cleaned me up and turned me back around and sent me right back to my brother so he can finish doing with me what he wanted to do. And this went on for a long time. And that was just one memory. I had another memory. I'm in the basement again. And I'm on this table, a little bit higher than that one. And I'm on my back. And as far as I can see, it was so many boys that I think I just detached. Because when the memories came back, they were so horrific. I remember my hands was bleeding from me, like, I guess, resistance, how much painful it might have been. And it would be bleeding. And when I asked this family friend about it, I said, did something happen to me? Her name was Christine. I said, Christine, did something happen to me when I was little? And so she said, happened to you like what? I said, did somebody do something to me? And I gave her that look and she said, you need to ask your mama. So that told me she knew something happened to me. So when I asked my mother said, no, did nothing happen to me? And I was like, Mama, you sure? She said, did nothing happen to you? So I asked my sisters, and this is when the truth started coming out. Anyway, it took a long time before I had any memories of my childhood. And to say that I can speak about it freely like this now is because it doesn't bother me. Some of them I still get them from time to time, new ones. And it's only it seems like when I'm totally comfortable and relaxed that they're surface, and they're always worse than the previous ones. And how I ever survived my childhood, I really don't know. I guess it was just by the grace of God that I survived, and I'm glad we got all that hell out the way then so that I can make my own hell for myself, which I do very good. So moving right along, I got married. My first husband, his name was Furman Eugene Porter. He's about 7 feet tall. He would have to bend down to come through a door. That door is almost about his height. Almost. He was tall. He used to be a pro basketball player, so I hear. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I know he spoke about 6 different languages. He taught himself. This is how Annette started doing drugs. Because Annette was anti-drug as we were coming up, because I had a brother, Weedy, who went into the Army. And he came, I don't know what happened to him, but I noticed that, he was shooting dope, had a needle hanging out of his arms. He used to torment me and my brother and tell us, we better never do drugs. We'd be sitting in a chair. He said, hit the chair, you better never do drugs. You better never do drugs. So we were scared, right? So here comes my first husband, right? And I did pretty good for myself, I had a daughter. And I just noticed things were missing around the apartment. So I was saying to my sister-in-law, I don't understand what's going on. I said, I ain't got no money nowhere around the house. Things are just coming up missing, and I can't figure it out. She said, that's because Ken 2 is doing freebase. And I said, well, what's the freebase? Didn't know what freebase was. Lo and behold, when I confronted him, he decides he's going to do the drug in the house. It's my fault, of course, because I wouldn't let him do it in the house, and I would make such a bitching sound about it that he had to go out and be with other women to do this drug. It was all my fault. So to fix this, he was going to make me do the drug, right? That's how these teeth came out, because I said, no, Pop. My brother said, learn how to duck. So I took that to heart. And then I got 6 stitches here of the eye. I got fractured ribs. And then my girlfriend was telling me, she said, Annette, just do the damn thing. You don't have to do it alone. I'll do it with you. This is my friend. She never did drugs, but she went through this with me. She did it with me because she didn't want me to do it by myself, and I'm forever grateful to her. So here we go. And then when it got to the point to where I didn't know how to quit, and I said, how do I stop? He said, and walk right out of my life, like mission accomplished. That's all I wanted to do was fuck you up. But anyway, in spite of that, I ended up going into construction. I worked for all the Fortune 500 companies. And then I I was a stripper, I was a prostitute, I was a model. These things kind of came like back to back behind each other. And then when I found out I can only go so high in the Fortune 500 company, I switched over to construction because you can make a lot of money in construction. And so there I go. I met this guy. I don't know if I should say their names because, yeah, so we better leave that alone. I went there for a year. I learned to trade, and then I had my own business. I had a beautiful life with him. Had a gorgeous house, had a condo in Fort Lee, had a condo in Leonia, had 2 pieces of property in Ringwood, house maid, housekeeper. I mean, my children went to school with Stevie Morris kids, which was Stevie Wonder, and they had a beautiful life. It wasn't like they just went to school and came home to an empty house. They went to school, they had piano lessons, they had vocal lessons, they had martial arts, so they had a lifestyle. And the thing that I learned about being rich and being poor is that, you see, rich people do the same thing somewhat that poor people do when there's no one home. They let the kids come home, what they call latchkey kids. They come home, ain't nobody there. Sometimes they don't even have a maid or a housekeeper there. And they come in the house and nobody calls stipends on them, Child Protective Services, because they're in a different bracket, so they're protected. And I noticed that, and I noticed a lot of things that was just discriminating. When I was going to school, I used to wonder about the people that was in office. Like, do they know that in this neighborhood somebody dies every weekend? Do they even care? Do they know that we got these books that pages are missing out of them and they're raggedy and they're dirty and they're all... Do politicians even care about all this stuff that this American dream is about? And that got me into politics for a little bit. Yeah, I dabbled in that for a minute. But it just seemed to me that it was something really, really wrong with the way that I was coming up. And I noticed that when I would go to my friend's house, things were just different. Like, it was clean, for one. My mom used to drink, and she used to have a whole lot of male guys come over, and she used to dip snuffs over spittoons all around. And I used to have to jump out the window because some of these men wanted to get me. So my brother Pinky taught me how to jump out the window so I'd be all right. And my mom, when she got drunk, she used to get butt naked. It was no secret what went on in her bedroom. She left the door open, we could see everything. And she would walk down the street butt naked. Sometimes I'd be coming in from one of my friend's house downtown, and my friend Sharice would say, "Tootsie, Mama naked walking down the street." I said, "You help me get it?" Sure. They would help me get my mother, bring her in the house, and she was a piece of work. She was a legend in her own, in Elizabeth. Everybody knew her, from the police officers to every nurse and doctor in the hospital. They knew who she was. They called her Mama Felton. She got drunk one time. She loved to drive when she was drunk. She got drunk. She hit the fire hydrant. She hit the street light. And then she rolled up between the sliding doors. She crashed her nose and got out the car and said that she needed help. She did some things in her days. She would take us fishing with her to these places so far away, and we had to go down these steep hills and watch out for the cow manure and snake holes and all this kind of stuff to get to this edge of the bank. And my mother would stay there from before the sun came up to after the sun went down. Everybody's ready to go. She still got her pole in the water. She's fishing. When we would come back, we had to walk, like, it seemed like a million miles just to the car. But I understand as an adult why she did that. She did it because she probably didn't have any money to feed her kids, so she took us fishing, to make sure that we had something to eat. When my mother was drunk, the whole house was drunk. But when my mother was sober, she would clean the house so good. You would probably have to wear shades to walk through it. But she just, I think she had a horrible life, and a lot of things she just didn't talk about. She's always proud of the one thing she never knew who her mother was. Let me tell you about my second husband. My second husband, believe it or not, when I was with this guy, who we know who was where he was from, he had this woman. He paid her like $5,000 for a reading, right? This woman told me, she said I was going to meet my husband in a warm climate. She said I was going to have 2 sons. And at the time, being on the East Coast, I never wanted to come to California. I thought people were crazy to live in California because they know it's going to be an earthquake. Why would you want to live someplace where there's going to be an earthquake and you're going to go up under? That was never a part of my plan. However, as fate would have it, like she said, I came into a warm climate. I met my husband, who died just last year in October from fentanyl, and I had 2 sons by him. And, some people can be very accurate in this thing. I think that she was more than just a psychic. I think she was just an undercover prophet and didn't know it, to be so accurate. And the reason he took me to her because he wanted to know if we were going to be together, even though we got the blessing to get married and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't for me. Because at first I really cared about this man, but then he became so controlling that it just edged any feelings that I had, out the picture. And he told me to marry him anyway, just for convenience. I said no. I said I kind of got married the first time. It was quote unquote a convenience because I was going to get some things out of it, but it wasn't worth it. I said if you marry somebody, you should marry someone who's going to love you, go to the curb and back with you, I said not because you got money or because of the things you can get them, but because of who you are inside. So if anything should happen, your looks are going to fade. Mine's just happened. But looks will fade. Your body's going to get older. And then if the person only, like my husband told me, the second one said, he only married me for my body. Yes, that's what he did. He married me for my body. Not because of who I was or what's inside, just for the image. And so I started letting myself go after that pretty much because, when you think someone, when love is a wonderful thing. And for someone to just come in and abuse that and just shatter everything, every emotion, every, I guess, feeling, any label you can put on it, this shatters the whole thing. It was one thing to get a broken heart. Let me tell you, my first broken heart, I didn't even know what it was. I just, equated it with pain. What do you do with pain? You take an aspirin, right? I thought if I take an aspirin, I can get rid of this heart feeling, right? Didn't work. We went past our broken heart. We went to a broken spirit. We went past the broken spirit. This man had I was shattered. My spirit was shattered like in a billion pieces. It's like Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, so many pieces. They couldn't put it back together. That's how it was for me. I let so much of myself go to be what he wanted me to be, I was so meshed into this man that when he rejected me, my God, it was just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde having to rip yourself apart. It was so hard for me to do. But when I did it, I was so happy. I was so glad when I no longer loved him because then I was able to get myself back. It took a long time, and I'm still working on it to this day. Still, that's how much damage. See, as long as I kept everybody outside of my little circle, I was fine. But when you let someone in your heart, that's when they can do damage. Because when they get in their heart, they can do a whole lot of damage here and up here. My head and my heart never agreed. My heart is full of love, but my head is always checking this person and what they're doing and what they're saying, because if what they're doing doesn't add up to what they're saying, my head's going to let me know. My heart's going to feel bad about it because we could have done so much here. And I thought that anyone, if you poured so much love into them that they can change, I was wrong again. Some people are so evil. Some people are so selfish. They will take everything you got, and when you don't have anything else to give them, they're out. They don't care. They're just in it for what they can get. And some people are so evil. Talking about evil. Love has nothing to do with, they will say whatever they think you want to hear. They will be ever what they think you want them to be to get in, to get you. And a lot of people down here, it's just like that. They scan you. It's like they got this way of just scanning you. And whatever which way they find there's a little opening, got you. They get in, get what they want, or as much as they can get, and then they're out. And it sounds so believable. But you've got some magnificent con artists down here. Talking about different devils on different levels. City of Los Angeles, City of Angels. Got every kind of demon down here. And they are at work. And so that's my story. Anything else?
How'd you end up down here?
How did I end up down here? It was because I was on my way to Vegas. It was me and Bear. It was the only time that I was stripping. I would go to Vegas because they would have these porno conventions, and porno stars don't like going out with porno chicks. They like going out with regular women. And it was a great deal for me. You know, they start out $500 on the table back then, you know. And it just, the longer you stayed, the more money you made. So we was coming from this porno convention. We was on our way to one. Oh, no, I think we was going out there. And the car broke down because I asked him to show me, I wanted to see LA. And I asked him to show it to me. And as we was coming on the bridge, I saw all these 12 skyscrapers. I said, oh, wait. I said, I think I like it. And we got here, the car broke down. And for some reason, he thought showing me Skid Row was the thing to see. And we came down here, and then we got into an argument, and then I went my way, and he went his way, but he was still stuck with the car. But I ended up going into this program. I was asking where could I stay for the night, and they told me to just go to Safe Harbor. I went over there and ended up doing a program, you know. That's how I met my husband, but that's how I ended up in LA. Just like,
Were you using the whole time?
Was I using when I came here? Probably. I've been using ever since that day happened when I first picked it up, and, you know, on and off for years. On and off for years.
Correct.
Well, it was called freebase then, and then it went to cocaine, and then it went to crack, and now so much crap in the crack, you know what the hell are you getting? And a lot of people have been dying from fentanyl, you know, so.
Yeah. How are you supporting yourself now?
How am I supporting myself? Of course, darling. I'm supporting myself.
Dressed like that?
No. This is just how I dress. This is the only way I've ever known how to dress. You know, I never, unless I was going to church, now I would a bit longer. But yeah, this is pretty much how I dress.
How do you make money?
How do I get money? You see the ones that I'm with, I spend their money. They spend money on me.
The men do.
And we're just best friends. We're really friends. Because a lot of times, you know what? I have this gift. I'm so talented at it. And I got the title when I was in New York. It's called Addict, naturally excellent at sucking dick. I'm just a pro at it. People who couldn't get an erection from head, listening to me, baby, I got them. I'm just good at it. Nothing that I practice at and have to work at it, just a natural talent that I have. What can I say? I have other talents too. I can sing, but that one just seems to work. And a lot of guys, I want to hit this box right here is so like Virgin, because by the time this gets finished with them, they never get to the box. Win-win situation.
You have any regrets in your life?
No, I don't have any. Nope, I don't have any regrets. As horrific as it was, if anything was to change, it would change everything, right? I wouldn't change anything because I got a hard-ass head. Like some people, they learn the lesson the first time. Not me. Some lessons I got to go through again and again and again and again until I get it. But then when I get it, I got it. You know, you don't have to worry about going over that lesson. But life has a funny way of doing things. You can know something, right? And then elevate to another level and learn the same thing just in a different way, you know? It's just like they say, if you keep throwing shots at the basket hoop, after a while, you know, you become good at making the shot. Well, now you're good at making the shot, but the same principles for that, you can't apply it to something else. And you'll learn everything comes full circle. You'll get right back to where you started from again. Same thing, same, but a whole different meaning. You know, so.
How old are you now?
I'm 62.
You're 62.
62.
You look great for 62.
Well, thank you. I could look better. What I want to do, I want to start bodybuilding. I want to get myself back together. You know, I want to put all the energy that I funneled out on so many people and put it back into myself. And I would like to get me, not a mansion, but an estate and have all my children up under one roof, up under different wings. And I would like everything that I'm doing for me and mine, I would like to do for the rest of the world. I want people to be happy, if possible. And the ones that are really like sociopaths, and just put all them people on one side of the equator and all the other people on the other side of the equator. I think that makes our job a lot easier. And that's just me.
What's your biggest fear?
My biggest, I don't think one of my biggest fears is after I leave this life and I'm going home, my biggest fear is for Christ to say that he never knew me. That would be my biggest fear. Because I acknowledge him in all the things that I do. I give him thanks for everything, and I know that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen in order for you to become who he predestined you to be before the foundations of the world. So to go through this life and get to the end of it, and as you're entering home, for him to say that he don't know you, man, you ain't got no more life. That's it. Life as we know it. It's over. And life beyond. That's my biggest fear.
And Annette, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Love. Love, because love is so powerful. You see The Exorcist, right? And you see how scary the demons and everything look. You know what overcomes that? Love overcomes evil. Evil doesn't overcome evil. Love overcomes evil. And all that, we got people, all the most horrific evils are overcome by love. So when you think about love, that's a very powerful instrument to overcome that kind of evil. Yes, I think that's the most important lesson that I've learned, because love is a beautiful thing. I've seen alcoholics stop drinking over love when somebody loved them, poured love into them. I've seen some drug addicts stop using, even smokers. Love can do a multitude of things when it's applied the right way. And when it's also received. So everybody can't receive love. Yeah, that's it.
All right, Annette. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, anytime.
You're
I got lots more to tell you.
Maybe we'll have you back.
Okay.
Thanks.